Hello, folks.
Hi there!
It's another episode of Würfelcast. We're late, a week and a day.
I noticed. You know how I
Yeah,
noticed? Because I woke up at 6 o'clock yesterday and then was told, let's postpone.
the next day. Yeah. But
That's
we
okay.
prefer.
I like getting up at 6 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. But yeah, there were some emergency stuff to deal with, so we had to postpone it a week and then a day as well. But here we are, and
Here we are.
at least we're here a week later. But from that week on, we're gonna go if nothing extremely weird, bad happens, or extremely good. Let's hope. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Then we will
Okay.
go with our usual schedule of once every 2 weeks. So, but without further ado, we're gonna start with our segments. And first of all, there will be a new segment. We're gonna get to that soon. It's a small segment, but talking more about games. And of course, the topic of the day today is top 10 worker placement games that I realized we haven't done. Though I was like, I'm sure we like talked about this topic, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just passing it.
I
Okay.
don't remember our doing it, but hey, here we are.
But all right, so let's start with the first topic, first segment, which is called recent plays.
It is.
And let me also share the screen. And here we are on the Board Game Geek.
Here we are.
And Kyle, what don't you tell me? What have you played?
All right. Well, so earlier this year we did our top most anticipated games of the year, and the Kickstarter gods have been very kind and have delivered several of those games from my list. The one I'll talk about today is one that I've been playing a lot lately, and that is Sleeping Gods.
Okay.
The game. So I'll start out by saying it's about 80% story and 20% game. It kind of feels like if you took the story it feels like the designer Ryan Lockett looked at Near and Far, which is probably his best game, and said, well, this has sort of an optimization engine, and it also has story. And I guess people like the story, and so we're going to drop the optimization engine off and just focus on the story. And that is what this does. Basically, it's a big book of stories, a large book of maps, and there's a small expansion with some additional maps that you can just add in and not even really notice. And you just go through, you do something, you pick up a quest, you go somewhere else, you try and figure out. The quest usually tells you an idea of where to go, like, near this city or something. And so then you sail around and you do it, and then eventually the game ends. And you see how many quests you got. There's a way to score yourself, but really it's more about trying to find certain items. There's a big check sheet of all the items. I've found about 20 of them so far. The box lists playtime of 1 to 20 hours, and that's probably a lie. It's never going to take 1 hour, and it's probably not going to get to 20. It's probably usually going to come in the 5 to 8 hour range. And you can just put it away and open it back up again later. That's sort of what the rules lead you to try, is just read it like a book. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy the combat. It's an interesting way of doing it whenever monsters show up. And I had a great time with it. It is a little bit unusual to have a game that doesn't have a natural start or stop point within about the 2 hour mark. And so that was a little bit, it took some getting used to, but on the whole, I quite enjoyed it, and I've had a good time with it. I've played through 2 full campaigns so far, and I'm sure I'll play through some more, but I'll probably do those with other people because doing it alone is fun, but not as fun.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the one that certainly I was interested in. I haven't kickstarted it, but I already wanted to try it at least.
Yeah.
I will see.
Well,
We'll see what happens.
you really can't just try it. Well, I guess you could, right? You could just play until you were done and put it away. Kind of like almost like Seventh Continent, which is probably the game it's closest to.
I'm sure it will be like the whole evening. Like I could play it for like 4 or 5 hours, and then realize that is it fun? Do you want to continue with the story, or do you want to
That's
put it
true.
away?
You could.
So
You could. And you could leave it set up and play it the next day. It's just not really a game for a one-off experience, just because it's so long. But I hope you'll like it, and it certainly has a great story going on, and a lot of interesting theme in the story, and a lot to explore, and a lot of different things to try. Definitely plenty to replay, because I have not scratched the surface after 2 times through it.
all right. So my recent play is the game that we talked about not last week, but last time. And it's the one that you mentioned in your recent plays, and it's Cloud Age.
Ah,
So yes, I was really interested in Cloud Age, and I
Okay.
was like, maybe I should just seek out the copy. Maybe they have it in Estonia, because the thing is that many of the games are still not here. But sometimes you can get lucky. For example, I got lucky with for example, Lost Ruins of Arnak was on pre-order after Essen through Czech Games Edition, and nowhere else. And I got it from the shop, so they probably made a pre-order straight from the publisher, But with this one, I got lucky. They had 1 copy, maybe 2, I don't know, but like I only saw 1 copy in the shop, and was like, I'm gonna buy it. And it's Alexander Fisher. It's not my cup of tea. Usually, his games are like his games don't invite me, because I'm not into German designers and designs.
he's Austrian.
Okay, sorry, Austrian, but it's in the same vein. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
Yeah,
think so.
and this one doesn't look extremely exciting. It still looks very Euro-y. But on the other hand, I really like the setting. I like the story behind it. So it has this kind of a story mode as well. You're gonna go through, and it will teach you more mechanics as you go. Let's say the story part is just there, a text on the card. But the gameplay, as you told last time, the gameplay was really cool. The small nuisance I had, the same as you, putting those stickers on those sleeves. That was like I had to tear them off and then put them back. Like I don't like, they say in the rulebook that if few bubbles are created by that, if they like if it's a bit bubbly, then that is fine. But I'm not fine with that, so I had to had it perfect, and yeah. But they work. They work, and
They work very well for the game. They're just a very big pain to assemble.
yeah. But essentially, this game is about going out there, exploring, and upgrading your ship so you can go faster, you can fight better. One of the central mechanisms are those cards that you play out. Those cards give you different special abilities and things. They boost your speed and the combat value as well. And you constantly need to get the energy, get the water as well. There's resources so you can use them to build those cards and things. So you kind of it's a kind of a closed circle of like I get the water to build cards, then cards will produce me more of those different things, so I can go faster and produce more water, and then I can get another bunch of water and so on. So it's kind of a closed circle of that, and it's cool. And the other cool part are those sleeved cards. Like these are the cards under the sleeve, and they have those clouds on them. And what I like is you try to guess what's underneath the card. But basically, there's like 3 of one resource, 2 of one resource, and then 2 ones. You know, they can be.
I actually think it's 3 and then 2 twos and a 1 usually.
No, 3, 2, 1, 1. I checked it.
Oh, it is.
Because
okay.
yeah, because the thing is that the lower numbers have sometimes those extra bonuses. So yeah, I checked it. Yeah, it's 3, 2, 1, 1 because one of the other players, they wanted to really know what they're going for because that person doesn't really like kind of a push your luck randomness. But he really liked the track, the water track. So how much water you produce each time. He was like, it was really cool mechanic. I was like, I don't know, it's very Euro and boring.
It's there.
It's one of the most boring, yes, things. But he likes that stuff, you know. He's that kind of a Euro gamer. Like, he's a felt guy. But, I mean, overall, the progression of the game, and we played the first scenario, so we played the simplest game. We didn't go through that. There's a little bit of that terraforming when you put down the tiles, which are like greenery tiles, whatever they are. I don't know. I haven't got to that part. I didn't read that part of the rules because when it comes up, I'll read that then.
Oh, well, I can spoil it for you. You have another action and you can put those tiles down and gain bonus.
I figured that out. Yeah, it's an extra scoring. Yeah.
It's not a huge extra rule to add.
Yeah, but I mean, the cool part of that, you can feel like the push your luck element of when you go into those cloud cards and you try to guess what resources you get, etc. It might be very random, but on the other hand, the cards that you get, these are the movement cards as well. These go into your deck. So basically, you will build up your deck with these cards. Not as much. It says deck building, but this game is not a deck building game at all. It's a tableau building game. But you have this deck of cards that you, at the beginning of each round, you pull 2 cards, and one of them is for movement, another one is for getting some extra resources like energy and things. So you choose that. You choose the other one. Like, you don't choose, there's the lower, the higher number.
The choice is made for you.
But you get even higher numbers and better cards within those cloud cards. So that's cool to have. And so you can get rid of your lower cards. There are some mechanics which let you get rid of your lower cards, like there is a 0 card. Because when you combat, usually you're not as powerful within your, like, engine that you have with the cards and with your ship, because it's really hard to upgrade it. It's rather expensive. So mostly what you do, you flip a card when you combat and then you add the value. So, but with the 0, you can get unlucky. Anyway,
yeah,
it's straightforward. It's simple. I could even see it having an expansion that would add like an extra board or more actions to do or anything like that. This game could be expanded further and it will not be overwhelming still. So Cloud Age, as you said last time, a good game.
Great. Well, I'm a little surprised that you enjoyed it, but I'm glad you did.
And I'm too. I'm surprised too. But I like engine building. I like tableau building. I like, getting resources and then upgrading things. That was the same with like Kings of Air and Steam. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So Kings of Air and Steam as well, so that you could upgrade your airship. And I was like, ooh, I like that part. Which
okay.
I don't know. I'm weird, but I like that part. Anyway, so that was recent plays. And we're gonna go back to the BG starting page, and we're gonna go to the next segment called Cult of the Old. We're getting older each day. We have to start thinking about stuff we used to do.
Okay.
I don't know why, but anyway. So this new segment is about the games that we want to highlight that are at least 5 years old. or older, 5+ years old. So Kyle, why don't you start? Why don't you tell me about the game that you really appreciate from many years ago?
So there's a game I really appreciate from many years ago, and it's a game that originally came out in 2009, so it's definitely within the 5 year mark. It is having a new edition coming out this year. I'm not sure that I'm super excited for the new edition. The new artwork doesn't look all that great, and the game looks like it might have changed a lot. But that's okay because no one can come to my house and take my old edition away. The game is called Summoner Wars, and it is a game I talk about all the time. But, for our first talking about old games segment, it definitely had to be my choice. Look, I don't know that I need to say a whole lot about it, but it's a game that I really have enjoyed, and it has brought a lot of people that I like into games. It's been something that's been very approachable for people. It's been something that I have used to spend time with friends and family, and I have spent a lot of time with that. It's a game that I love to teach. It's a game that I can teach very well. And there's now, at least in original old Summoner Wars, 40 different starting decks, and that's pretty much what I play with. I very rarely will use the building mechanisms because I enjoy just the way the starter decks are balanced against each other. I enjoy the hand management, which is really the core of the game.
Yeah.
I enjoy the way that you're making an interesting choice between using cards to do things or using cards as resources, and you've got a very thin deck, and once it's done, so the game doesn't drag on. I find all of the different ways that things work together to be fantastically fun, and it's an older game that I really love, and I'm cautiously optimistic, just barely, about the new version, but we'll see.
I'm sure they're gonna make it great game again. I mean, like,
I hope so. I hope they don't change too much. Because if you change too many things, then, some of the magic might escape from the bottle. And the new artwork is definitely, it's much more cartoony.
where is it? What's it called? Is it like
Summoner Wars 2nd Edition. I don't know if it's up there yet. I've just seen it through the Plaid Hat various social platforms.
It seems like it's not. I mean, but
Hey, pre-orders for it start on March 1st. So, and I'm going to order it, right? I kind of have to, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that it is amazing. But old Summoner Wars, like the core old basic game. All right, look, the original edition was not the best components. It came in a tiny box with a paper mat that wouldn't lay flat. But despite that, I still liked it. And in fact, I loved it back then, and I continue to love it today.
yeah. The only thing I can understand why they do that. They separated from Asmodee, and now they're trying to get the money back. And it's very usual for the companies nowadays to bring back older games that are still like really popular, but they bring them back in a new code edition and get even more money. It's usual, but I don't know. You can see this one had master set and alliances master set, and it has so many things that I'm like, will people be satisfied enough with the new edition to buy it again? It's like, for you have everything for that game.
Well, so the new game is not just a reskin. That is the one thing I do know from listening to their podcast, right? They've changed some of the factions. They've added new stuff. There's going to be new things, and the way that the deck building or the deck construction works is also much more open than it has been. So there are some differences. This is not going to be the same game with different artwork. This is going to be a new game that's also called Summoner Wars and has a lot of similar mechanisms, but some different ones too. And I'm just hoping the different ones don't take away what I loved and replace it with something I love less.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so my choice for the Call of the Old. First of all, I was like thinking about quite a few games that I really, really enjoy, but the thing is that they are still really popular, and I feel like I I don't need to highlight them because they're still out there. Maybe I will in the future episodes. But the one that got a new edition in 2019, like a premium edition, just combining all sets and giving you a box too big because there are like twice as less cards. Like I mean, like there's a ton of space, extra space for nothing because they told that they have no reason to do another expansion, and I'm talking about Valley of the Kings.
Except another expansion did just come out.
Did it?
Yeah, like
Oh.
the end of last year, Necropolis or something.
Ooh.
It's
Yay.
just another set of it's another couple of sets that you can add in and mix.
I,
And it's only like $10.
I see. Why not? But I mean, like, I'm up for more cards. Anyway, so I'm showing you the original one, Valley of the Kings. The small box set. There are 3 sets of those. They came up with the new premium edition, bigger cards, better artwork, and I do like a new edition. But this game, as a small box, this game was a really great kind of a travel edition of the deck building, and the deck building that showed, like, this game showed me that deck building can be fun in a different way, that there can be other things going on. For example, this one, in order to score the cards, you don't just pile them up in your deck and you play them and you basically, it's a usual deck building. Get 5 cards, cards are value. You can use that as value to buy more cards, or cards can be special abilities. But here, the cards are also a part of set collection, and you have to entomb them, a special action, to put them away in your tomb, so you can score them as a set collection unit. And the thing is, if you will not do that, everything in your deck, still in your deck, doesn't score you anything. Right. And you're trying to collect those unique sets of various colors and things. And when you do that, that's the whole story, because you really want to use that ability or the coin value, but you see that maybe you will not have another chance to put that card away as a set collection. I really like that aspect of the game. And I also played it with, like, all the deck buildings. Mostly they work great with 2. If you go 3 or more, they are okay. This one worked as a 4-player game really well for me. I don't know why. It just there are also, it's like, the thing is that because it has various sets, and there are various boxes, like there are 3 smaller boxes. Now, if you get the premium edition, you get everything in one, and you can build up your kind of a game. And some of those sets, some of those cards are a little bit more aggressive. Some of them are less aggressive. So you can, like, for example, you can steal cards from other players, and some people might not like that, but they can build the game, like they can just live out that set and take another set into the game.
Sure.
With less interaction, but maybe that interaction as well that helped out the game. So Valley of the Kings came out in 2014, and I was really enamored with this twist on deck building, and yeah, I like it so far. And I have the new premium edition as well, and let me see if what's you told me there's Necropolis expansion?
I think that's what it's called.
That's the one?
Yep.
Okay.
It's just another few decks, like, a couple different sets to add. It's very small, but it was a nice surprise. It's part of that AEG is doing sort of a small expansion line. Every couple of months they'll release a small expansion to one of their games, and this was one of the first ones they did.
Yeah, but this one is within this new premium edition. You can see the
Yes.
cards are totally
Right.
different look.
Yeah, the old edition is, I think, out of print, and I don't think it's being supported. So I think if you want Valley of the Kings, the new edition is the way to go.
Yeah, the
Well,
premium
which
edition.
it is anyway. I mean, it's much nicer than the old one, but
Yeah, but still, I mean, like the thing is that it's still an older game. The new edition
yeah,
just
absolutely.
it adds
The new edition didn't change very much at all. It added the
it added
pharaohs, but that's about it.
pharaohs. I don't know.
Right.
The pharaohs they are not so extremely necessary, but they're cool. Yeah. Anyway, Valley of the Kings, my choice for the Cult of the Old. And
Right.
now we're going to go to the next segment, which is what's on Kickstarter. And we're going to go to the Kickstarter page. And Kyle, why don't you tell me
Okay,
what
the
have
games
you chose?
I have chosen a game. It's called Clinic Deluxe Extensions.
Oh, I see.
So these are two expansions for Clinic. Now, Clinic is it's a game that came out. I don't remember when it came out, but I got my edition last year, which right before kind of things shut down.
I think it came out 2018 or something like that, maybe
Okay.
2 years
Well,
ago.
it's not an old game, but it's a game that hasn't been in mass distribution.
Oh,
Um,
2019.
So I got mine, and it's a very cerebral game about building essentially a hospital, and you're building it in 3 dimension, or it's sort of 3-dimensional building. You're not building it in 3 dimensions, but you have to sort of plan. This can go above this because you're making different floors. There's an interesting efficiency puzzle as you're trying to use as little movement as possible to get doctors to the patients and patients to the treatment rooms. And they came out with, oddly enough, I got Clinic with its first expansion. And then last year they came out with expansion number 4. And so this is a Kickstarter for expansions 2 and 3. I don't know, maybe in France they count differently, but it was odd to come out with an expansion with number 4 on the box before 2 and 3. But hey, it's a fine game. It's a great solo game. It works well with more than one person also. Although it is a rough game to learn, I'll say that. Oh yes, they had the coronavirus expansion as well, which was a donation essentially that you could get it by donating $10.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a fine game. It does. I mean, some people talk about it, but you don't hear it talked about quite as much as some other medical themed games. But I've really enjoyed it. I don't know if it really needs expansions. The base game is very full and has lots and lots of rules to learn. Also, the game does tend to be a lot more. It has a whole lot more parking lot management than I think you would expect in a game about running a hospital. Be- a very big portion of the game is figuring out where patients and doctors can park their cars. Uh, but I enjoy it, and I figured I'd highlight it. It's getting 2 expansions right in the middle of the series, between 1 and 4.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I've never played the game, so
I don't know if you would love the game at all. It is a whole lot of rules, and a lot of them are dry, kind of fiddly rules that I think you might find frustrating. Uh, but hey,
yeah.
I'm also sometimes wrong about what you'll like.
No, I usually yes. Like I mean, nowadays I'm eager to try some of the games that are rather convoluted with rules, but on the other hand, I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I
This
should.
game has a lot to keep track of. I'll just say that.
That's fine. That's okay. Anyway, so my project of the week and the game or the expansion I wanted to also have the expansion I wanted to highlight. And first I was like, oh, should I highlight the new terraforming card game, the Ares thing that I want to pledge for because it looks cool.
You already
But then
did.
I'm like, Yeah, but I mean, like, the thing is that this project is up there doing great. But then I looked for like then I realized there's expansion for a game that I really like and not many people like, and I was like, this game needs an expansion badly. Many years come by, no expansion. I eventually sell the game because I'm frustrated that no expansion is there, and now they come up with the expansion,
Oh.
and that's World Wars.
Oh.
Whoops. World Wars, what's called the Relic Roadshow, yeah. And the Relic Roadshow, yeah. And I really like this bidding game, and I'm not a bidding guy. I'm not the one who likes bidding games usually, but this new expansion adds new vaults where the second highest bidder can also get things. Like not only one winner, there can be two winners, and there are like two different set collections to approach. You can approach the hero side basically, or the villain side, and you collect those powerful relics as well. So it's basically the same game. The other cool part about that is vices, and vices are basically those cards where usually you have this kind of a loan shark, and when you don't have enough money, you can go visit the loan shark and get the money, but then you get those corruption tokens which give you points, minus points at the end of the game. With those, these are the cards that you have those cards and you can use them as many as you want, but the more you use them, the more minus points you get at the end of the game. And these have various abilities. You can get the money, but you can also get the special ability as a bidder, you can get special ability as an auction master, and so on. So they give you even more opportunity to, like, though using corruption, but you know, now it's cool. It's not like just, oh, I don't have enough money because I overbid once and now I'm stuck. You know, this one's like give you choices and opportunities. So I really like that. So it says there's a two-player variant as well, which is cool because it's a 3 to 5 player game. And I don't know, I just like this game, and I wanted to have. And this one has few extra cards, and I really wanted to get those few extra cards to spice up the game just a bit, to be cool. And now it's here, and now I'm thinking about. I put it as I saved it as a reminder because I'm thinking about because to be honest, you can see it's $30 to get the base game plus expansion. $30 nowadays, you get the standard copy, not the deluxe copy of metal coins. But I don't care about metal coins. Here, it's not the game that you need the metal coins for, you know. But yeah, this one, $30 for the game plus expansion that I really like. I mean, it's not a lot.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about that.
I think I might skip this one, but I hope you're able to get it.
I'm thinking about that, but yeah. Not completely sure. And there's the $10. So basically I spent $40 for this game plus expansion, which is fine with me. So World Wars, Relic Roadshow, a really cool bidding game. Check it out with the expansion now that it really needed. And now we're gonna go away from, let me get back to Board Game Geek, but let me stop screening. We're gonna get away from what's on Kickstarter segment and get to the next segment, which is Guess That Game. And in Guess That Game, we try to guess the game by giving hints to each other.
Do.
So, Kyle, why don't you start?
Okay, so this is an older game.
It's an older game. It's
At least I think so. I consider this an older game.
Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
It is not. This game is a worker placement game.
Alien Frontiers.
It is not Alien Frontiers. This game has too many expansions.
Alien Frontiers.
Well, true, but that does definitely fit. But no, it is not that. This game has role selection in addition to worker placement.
Oh, role selection. San Juan is not a worker placement game. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Give another hint.
The worker placement mechanisms in this game are confrontational,
What do you mean by that?
meaning you can have a confrontation to secure yourself a spot.
Oh, is it the? Does it have a role selection? Carson City.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. In fact, that's
Okay.
it.
Carson City. Okay. I
Yes,
don't remember
because
the
remember
roles.
you select one of those roles for the round, and that
Oh
gives you a special
yeah,
ability.
yeah. I didn't like that game that much. It was okay, so that's why I forgot because it's not a so of a good game. Anyway, no, it was fine. It was totally fine, but just the bookkeeping
All
and the
those
whole
clues were
thing was
fine.
clues were fine. Yeah. No, I was almost the Alien Frontier guy there. Anyway,
Yeah, you were twice.
You said too many expansions, and like, do you know how many expansions Alien Frontiers has? Like,
I do.
It's hard.
Just because Alien Frontiers has too many expansions does not mean that Carson City does not have too many expansions.
should we call it too many bones? Okay. So this next game, you're gonna love it. It's a storytelling game.
Is it above and below?
No, but this game has a Silent Hill type atmosphere. If you know Silent Hill, the video game, like a creepy, mistful kind of a horrorish
Is it
atmosphere.
Mysterium?
No.
Okay.
This game has maybe not exactly the mechanics, but it has Betrayal at the House on the Hill vibes to it. It feels like they have borrowed from that game.
Is it one of those various and sundry escape room games?
Okay, so last few will help you out. This game is completely random.
Is it Tales of the Arabian Nights?
No, but yeah, no. But this game is the one you hate. You hated the game. You have played it. You hate it.
Oh.
The horror.
A horror game that I hate.
The storytelling horror game you hate. Lots of dice.
Oh, is it that Comb Award game?
It is, yes.
Oh, yeah. That
yes.
game was terrible.
It stinks. My last clue was there are hallucinations, but you wouldn't probably guess that.
If you had added the clue of it comes with a live roach in the box, that would have definitely gotten me.
Yeah, but it is. It takes the vibes of those different horror games. So yeah. Anyway, your next one. Give me some hints.
All right, my next one is an older game.
It's Cloud Age because it's a few weeks old now.
No, well, no.
Call of the Future.
This is a worker placement game.
Champions of Midgard.
No. This game has one expansion.
What?
Noticing
One
a pattern.
expansion? The one expansion, it's an older worker placement game, which is Lords of Waterdeep.
No? Although that's fair. This game has lots of math in it.
Lots of math. It's Caverna?
No? Does that game have a lot of math?
I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah,
So.
this game is best known for one of its locations, which is often referred to as a love shack.
Oh, do you mean the Stone Age?
There you go.
Yeah, the Love Shack. Everybody knows the Love Shack.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a little place
Stone
where we can
Age.
get together.
Haven't played it in ages. I mean, like it's not a bad game at all. I mean, like it's
Actually, it holds up really well. I played it just a couple months ago with a friend. He was kind of new to games. He really loved it. and it really works. It's a lot better than maybe you remember it.
Maybe I should get back to it and try with the expansion. I think I played it with the expansion as well, but that
The
vaguely
expansion
remember that.
is almost laughably bad.
Okay.
The expansion is something you don't need.
Okay. Snow Age then. All right. My last one is a game about a magician.
Tricarian?
No. This game has a rondel mechanic. Okay, let me help you more. It's themeless. It's themeless.
Themeless game about a magician with a rondel.
Yeah. And if you
Blackout
tell me
Hong
there is
Kong.
theme, then no. No.
Okay.
Dice in this game are the central mechanism.
I'm not doing very well today.
Think about a themeless game where dice are central mechanism. Who makes themeless games with dice?
Reiner Knizia?
You're almost there. It's a Stefan Feld game.
Oh, a Stefan game about a magician. Oh, is it Merlin?
It is.
Okay.
It's.
That's fair.
If you tell me that there's theme, I have to punch you.
Oh,
because- Thank you.
I'm not gonna.
This game, like you could put Merlin, you could put Starbucks. I mean, like it should be the same. I think. Going in
It's an
circles.
interesting. It's a good roll and move game.
Yeah, though you can move on both sides. Anyway, that's I guess that game. I hope
you go.
everybody guessed those terrible games. And now we're gonna go to
we're
the
not
next
terrible.
segment. Most of them. Okay. No, some of them. Come Award. Come on. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. Anyway, let's go to the next segment, which is Under and Over. We are over some games, and we feel that some games are underappreciated. Anyway, yeah, we
Okay.
could talk about underrated and overrated games. I'm just trying to spice it up, but it doesn't
Oh.
really help. Anyway,
Yeah, I
Let's-
don't know that that's working very well.
let's just go on. And here we have the
Okay.
BGG page again. And Kyle, why don't you start and give me one of your underrated games and one of the overrated games?
Okay, so the underrated game I'm going to talk about is a game that. So because we're talking about worker placement today, that's sort of what brought a lot of these things to my mind. And when I think of worker placement, the designer I think of is of course Uwe Rosenberg, and so I'm talking about one of his underrated games. This is a game that I think nobody remembers except me. The game is called Mercator, and that's Mercator with a K, because why not? And when you're looking for pictures of this, you really kind of have to go through because most of them, I looked at it before we were talking today, most of them are prototype pictures. And the game, even the final version, kind of looks like a prototype. This is a game about efficiency. You're essentially gathering goods to fulfill contracts. And as you do so, you're gonna get points. And you don't really. Sorry, you're not getting points. What you're trying to do is fulfill a contract to get the next contract up. And so you're always getting a better and more complicated contract, and that's actually quite interesting. But when people move, you're able to move with them if you spend a resource called time. I don't know why it's called time, just because it is. And that's what you're doing. You're picking up goods, delivering goods. Not necessarily any attempt at a theme here, but it's definitely a good game, and it's a game that I think if you were listing the top 25 Uwe Rosenberg games, I don't think anybody would even think about this one. So I've enjoyed it. Again, I'm not going to pretend that there's any theme, but it's a good game. And I
I
think,
see.
it's something that maybe with a little more love might have been a great game.
I see. Okay. Yeah, it's not the one that I would look for trying at all. Let's go to your overrated one.
All right. My overrated game, and again, I have to preface this, overrated does not mean I don't enjoy it, but this game is a game that is very highly regarded, but I just don't know that I don't know that it holds up as well as I thought that it would. I played it kind of recently and was a little bit underwhelmed. And that is, it's kind of a sacred cow for people, but that game is El Grande. So this is an area control game, and it's a game that really kind of pioneered a lot of features. And it has a lot of mechanisms that I like. It has an interesting sort of action selection where, the cards have different functions, but it doesn't look very good. It's, it's very brown, very bland looking. The pieces themselves are just cubes of different sizes. And, it's, I enjoy the game. I really do. But I don't know that it necessarily is the best area control game. I don't know that it's even in the top 50 anymore because so much more has come out that I think this one might be, highly regarded by people who haven't played it for a long time.
Nostalgic reasons, yeah. That might be the case because, yeah, I'm sure throughout from 95 to 2021, we are here now. I'm sure there were a few games that came out that are so much better than this one. I'm like, even I haven't played this one, but I'm sure about that because it's 95. It's come on.
Yeah.
In 20 years, like more than 20 years, it should be more games.
But it is very, very, very highly regarded, and I just don't know if it is rated as a new game versus a nostalgic experience. I think most people who consider it in its context rather than today. And I think if you were to learn a game that looked had just if it were reskinned but nothing were changed, I don't think those same people would enjoy it as much.
Yeah. All right, so that's your underrated and overrated games, and my picks for the underrated game, I chose a game that's not talked about, and it got the new edition as well, and it's Phil Walker Harding. What's his name?
Phil Walker Harding.
Phil Walker Harding, and that's it's
archaeology.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't.
Are you spelling it correctly?
Maybe, I don't know. How is it spelled?
With an A? Archae.
Oops, I forgot the A. I forgot the A. I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot the A. Okay. Yeah. My bad.
Are you spelling it correctly? That's why it's not showing up.
It was like archaeology, but then the A was missing. Anyway, so this game is the archaeology. The New Expedition is a newer title, newer edition of the game, and it's a more beautiful game. But this is a small box with basically rather easy set collection features, but there are those different tomes as well, and they act differently. And there's the push-a-luck element as well. And I like how simple it is. I like the card quality. I like how approachable, accessible, and yet small, and yet fun it is. And I don't own it anymore, and I regret that. To be honest, I was thinking about getting it back, because there are a few people that I play with who are really into just, simpler card games. And yeah, they love Red 7. I play Red 7 all the time. But I mean, this one is just so cool of a filler type game, That's, I think, forgotten. And this one should be up there with many other really popular filler games, in my opinion. It's the set collection game to go, in my opinion.
All right.
So, Archaeology: The New Expedition. And for my overrated game is a game appreciated by many people and game that is extremely ugly. Even with, I think it had the new edition, but still ugly. And it had the sequel that I don't care about. I don't understand what's so cool about this game. I played it and I could see a few mechanics being interesting, but there are so many other games that I think do a better job, plus being more beautiful. And I'm talking about the Castles of Burgundy. I mean, let's show you the newer edition. The newer edition, they say, and they say it's a more beautiful game. And this one has, I think, some kind of a 3D printed things going on there.
Yeah, that's the older edition. Oh, there we go.
I don't know.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a beautiful game. Doesn't
What?
have any.
It's okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, but this game is about the dice that you're using it to dice and building up your kind of a grid of those different tiles and things, and it's extremely themeless. And I don't know, it's just a bunch of mechanics put together, and I think they combine well. But there's no real reason to play this one. I feel like there's nothing I thrive for. There's nothing I want to achieve in this game. Just a bunch of things and puzzles that you do. And then you're done with them, and you forget about them. I mean, sometimes the theme is very much needed. The art is very much needed in the game to have a feel like you have an experience, that you are in that world. This one just tells you, this one wants you not to feel that world. This one wants to feel the Excel sheet, and I don't understand that. I don't understand why people like this game so much. Maybe because it's Feld, and Feld there are many fans that love Feld. And I'm starting to think that, and I might be totally wrong, and Feld is a great designer, I'm sure, that people, the more games can come out, like the Feld comes up with another game, I feel like the people like him because he's Feld, and not because the new game is cool. It seems like that. It seems like the fan base, it's the same with like Jamie Stegmaier, If he comes with a new game, there will be a lot of people saying it's the greatest game ever, even if it's not. And they will
Maybe
defend
it is.
that because it's just having a huge fan base that helps those games.
Sure.
But I think Castles of Burgundy should not exist anymore, and there are many other games that are cool as well that can use dice as actions and things, and I feel like I have one on my topic of the day list that is so much better than Castle Burgundy. Anyway, overrated game.
Well, I enjoy Castles Burgundy, but hey, there you go.
Yeah. All right, and here we go to the next segment, which is funky components. And we're still on BGG page. We're gonna show you games. Or we're going to show you funky components, weird components, deluxe components, whatever they are. Components that are not so usual for a board game. We're going to show you them in those board games. So, Kyle, what's your choice for this week?
All right, my choice for this week is a brand new game that I just played, but it has very memorable, very interesting components, and the game is After the Empire.
After the Empire?
After the Empire. Worker placement game, but really what it is building a castle and defending it from barbarian invaders. If you take a look at the components, there you go. You see those castles there? That's what we're talking about. You're building these very interesting 3D castles around your board. You're building the walls, you're building the towers, you put cubes in them, and then when the invaders come, when they attack you, they're going to knock the cubes off, and then eventually when the wall has no more cubes, it'll be destroyed. You've got little soldiers that you can put. They don't have to go into those spots, but hey, I guess they can, as those people have done. Oh, they've got some barbarians in theirs too. It's got really nice components. The resource cubes are nice textured cubes. They're still cubes, so they're functional, but they also have a little flavor to them. You can build the castle. You can build it out of wood. You can build it out of stone. You can upgrade it from at various points. It's just the components of this game really do elevate it and make it be the kind of game that when somebody's playing it, you'll kind of stop and say, aha, what's that? That game looks interesting. Thematically, it's a simpler version, I guess, almost of Stronghold, which was a very complicated game about defending a tower.
Yeah.
It has no connection to Stronghold, but this one's much more accessible. And that's it. It's definitely got some funky components, and they're very memorable. Lots of fun to play with in addition to playing the game, and definitely the kind of thing that's going to cause somebody to stop by and take a look.
Yeah, it looks cool. It reminds me of I've looked at some of the like really old games from 90s and so on, where they used to do a lot of that plastic thing. You know, there are many of those games. Like it looks like the old game, the plastic part.
Maybe.
A lot of like toy factor to it. You know.
Sure. I mean, these are at least functional, although it could have been. I mean, they could have been cardboard. You know, it certainly didn't need to be this way. But we're talking about the components, and these definitely stand out.
All right, so my pick for the weird funky component is from a game. It's not as deluxified and plasticky that you showed, but it's from a game called Histrio. And Histrio is a really cool game where I like the simultaneous action selection. But the cool part about this game is, and maybe, I mean, this is a bigger version, but you can still get the idea. Anyway, here, for example, the stage. So the stage, it has this kind of a dial where the king can be in a good or bad mood. You score based on that, and when it goes to the other side, and I don't remember exactly the mechanic, but the stage, the back of the stage rotates. And so you can rotate it and just flush the meeples away, or the miniatures away from that, and it's totally unnecessary, and it might not work that well sometimes. They can get stuck a little bit, but it's still cool to do that sometimes. Like, get off the stage, you're bad actors, and boom, and then you rotate that and they go off. So I think it's a funky component made out of cardboard, and totally not necessary, but still cool. As the theme. It's just stage. All right, and here we are. We are now into the topic of the day, which is top 10 worker placement games. And this is about the games that use worker placement in many various ways. I'm not restricted. I think I haven't told you to be restricted in any way. If it's a dice placement, then it's also fine. So here we go.
Yeah, I didn't.
Cool.
I don't know if I included any dice placement. It doesn't look like I did. Dice placement worker games, although I did consider them on my short list. So
yeah, I went with the list where, like, there might be the games that are lower in my list might be the ones that I like maybe more as games themselves, like the whole package. But I went with the kind of approach that where the worker placement for me was the best, where I like the worker placement more as a mechanic.
I did not do that. I just picked the games. I made a list of like 40 worker placement games that I really enjoy, and just narrowed it down. It was difficult to narrow down because this is a mechanism that does quite well. It's a popular mechanism because it feels good.
That's why I narrowed it down for myself. I tried to make kind of a different approach to it, because I felt like if I'm not gonna round it down to just worker placement, not dice placement games, I don't know. Worker placements, this central mechanism here. let's go to number 10. Kyle, what's your number 10?
All right, my number 10 is a game with a unique take on worker placement. The game is highly regarded and one that I've played many times. It is called Raiders of the North Sea.
Okay.
So, in Raiders of the North Sea, you have one worker, and that's sort of one of the cardinal rules of the game. You start every turn with one worker, you end every turn with one worker. And so you'll place a worker out, do the action, and then you'll pick a different worker up and do the action. There's some different rules if you go to some of the higher up spots on the board, in which case you'll just get a worker that's there as part of taking the action. But that's really what you're doing. You're placing a worker, taking an action, picking up a worker, taking a different action. It works really well. It's interesting. The easier actions are mostly just getting resources, and then eventually you'll go on a raid. You'll go to one of those higher up actions, and you'll get some combination of points and other better resources. Very much, I mean, the theme isn't really there. There are some nice expansions to it, though, that add a lot of interesting extra decisions that you can make. But I really enjoy it. I find its take on worker placement to be interesting, and that's why it's my number 10.
Okay, yeah, another one that I have tried, but I was thinking about that one, and maybe I'll try it one day just to know.
Oh, so you have not played it?
No, I've not played it yet.
Okay.
So, all right. So, my number 10 is a game that the other mechanics interest me as equally as the worker placement. I mean, the worker placement is there, and it's a worker placement game, but there are a few other things that I like a lot. So that's why it's low on the list, but I do really like the game, and that's Cosmogenesis. And in Cosmogenesis, you create those planetary systems, and you create new planets by colliding them with each other, and the planets become bigger and bigger, and then you put life on the planets through the asteroids and things, and then you get those objectives, which are the scorings for the collections and things and so on. So basically, it's a cool theme, and the theme works. To be honest, it's a rather thematic game for what it is. But it's a rather easy game. It's not a simulation to the max, it's not a heavy simulation game. And this game would be really nice with the expansion. It would be really cool to have an expansion to this game. It's not there. Probably because this game is not so hugely popular. But I really like this whole mechanism of creating those planetary systems. And you do that through the worker placement spots that you go to, and these are various sections of the board that you go to, and each section can only hold one of your colors. So, for example, if I go to some place, then the other player, they are now sure that the next time I will not, block them in that space because I already went there. And that means that everybody gets to visit every section, and you have to visit every section. So nobody will be blocked out of any of the sections, which is cool, which makes this game more strategic. And you get asteroids, you get new planets, you get new gas giants and objectives and things, and try to create life on those so you can score more points. I like this game, and it just because there's no expansion, and I need it to spice up games sometimes. So if the expansion comes out, I will get this game back into my collection. But I still really do enjoy it, and if I get the opportunity to play it again, I'll play it.
All right. I've not played that one.
Good game. Anyway, let's go to number 9. Kyle, you're number 9.
My number 9. All right. So I mentioned earlier, I think of Uwe Rosenberg whenever I think of worker placement. And I decided only to put one of his games on this list. And this is the game I think, it's not the one I enjoy the best. I think that's probably Le Havre, but that's not really a worker placement game, so that's why it's not here. This game is definitely one, and that game is A Feast for Odin. A Feast for Odin is sort of well known for having a large worker placement board with somewhere around 60 different spots that you can go to to place your workers. And unlike some of his other games where a lot of the game is about getting new workers, in this one you get additional workers each time. So you're able to do more as the game goes by. There's not really a way to speed up that process. It happens naturally. You're placing workers out. Depending on which spot you want to go to, there's a different cost. It could be one worker. It could be as many as 4. And you're doing actions. Ultimately, what you're getting is little Tetris-y pieces to place on your board to try and cover stuff up, which is a mechanism that he's definitely used in many of his other games. In fact, he's made several games about just that. But this is a nice sort of combination between those two halves of Mr. Rosenberg. And it's definitely an interesting worker placement. There's different things you can do, different strategies you can take. It is a game I don't think I will ever play with more than 2 because there's just a little bit too much going on, and I worry that more than 2 would really drag it down. But I really do enjoy it as a single or 2-player game, and that's my number 9. It's also very thematic.
Sure. Yeah. Not the one that I tried, not the one that I'm eager to try, not the one that I will ever try.
I'm surprised.
So, yeah.
But you can have pregnant sheep.
Okay, let's go to my number 9. And my number 9 is... Yeah, my number 9 is a game that I really did enjoy it from like last year. It's last year.
You didn't enjoy it?
I did enjoy it quite a lot, but the thing is that the worker placement there is as equally as fun as all the other mechanics, and the other mechanisms are making this game the game that I want it to be. And I'm talking about the Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that why it's low on my list, as I told you before, the worker placement aspect in this game is not so huge, it doesn't show you the board in any way. Okay, here for example,
That's the board.
You go there, you travel to those worker spots and they give you things, and you go to the new worker spots where you can discover new stuff and then fight the monsters, basically kind of a fight the monsters, whatever, just give them the different resources and they will go away. They will go away. So, but with Lost Ruins of Arnak, I mean, everything else, the science track and the kind of the deck building part of that is really, really cool. I like that a lot. And you can get quite a few actions from those cards as well. Not just the worker, because you only have like 1 worker and then you go somewhere.
2 workers?
2, sorry, yes. Sorry.
Come on, don't cut the number of workers in half.
Yeah, that's my bad. Yeah, you only have 2, but you have few workers to deal with, and it's not a huge part of that. But still, it's there, and those workers let you explore more worker spots, which I really like about this one, is that you can create new worker spots by going exploring, and you need to pay the travel fee with the cards and things, so you can go further, but you can get some bonuses as well. You can get the assistant that will help you with that or help you with other things. It's just a game with many paths, and one of them is a worker placement as well and fighting those monsters. So I like that. Lost Ruins of Arnak, it's one of the best worker placement deck building games from last year.
Very well.
Okay, so let's go to number 8 now.
I'm ready.
All right, Kyle, what's your number 8?
Okay, number 8 is a new game from last year. And it's a game I really enjoyed last year. I think it was in my top 5, I believe. And it's a worker placement game, but it's a different type of worker placement game. The game is Dwellings of Eldervale, not to be confused with Everdell, as much as my mouth wants to say that. So this is a game, it's a little different in terms of worker placement. That's what you're doing, right? You've got a number of workers of different types, and you're placing them out to take actions. But rather than sort of spots on like a board, you're placing them out onto a map. And if you end up placing them onto a spot with other workers of other players, well, you're going to have a fight after you take your action, sort of Carson City style. And that's also part of the game. But it's really what you're doing. It's the designer is the same designer as at least some of the... What's that?
Luke Laurie.
That's yeah. He
The Manhattan
did some of the
Project
Manhattan
designer.
Project, yeah. And so it's that same sort of worker placement mechanism that we see in Manhattan Project, where you're placing the workers out, and then on another turn, you'll take them all back. So there's that aspect of it. You have to spend one turn to take things back. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it as a worker placement game. I enjoy it as a just sort of explore and see how things work out. Different ways to get points, sort of building up your tableau as well. Lots of different things to love here, but it's definitely some interesting worker placement, so that's why it hits the list.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm really eager to try, and that's the one I'm considering now getting. I skipped the Kickstarter at that time. I don't know why. I don't know. But I played this one on the Dice Tower Cruise in 2018 or 17. I don't remember. One of those two. I think 18 was the one. I played it as a prototype, and I really enjoyed the prototype. I was like, oh, really cool ideas here. So I'm eager to try the final product here, and I'm kind of sure that I'm gonna like it, because I did really like the prototype, and it seems like they didn't go too far from their initial ideas that they had.
No, there's a lot to like here. So,
all right, Dwellings of Elder Vale.
mm-hmm.
My number 8 is a game that has dice, but it all evolves around the worker placement. It has the expansions that make the game better. Maybe too big on the table itself. It becomes convoluted, like it takes a lot of table space. But Champions of Midgard.
Okay.
And Champions of Midgard is a really cool game. It's lower on my list because I've I don't know, I might not enjoy it as much as I did at first, but I still do really enjoy it. I mean, like if before it would be like my 9 or 10, today it would be my 8 or 7.5. But I still really do enjoy it. Doesn't matter. There are so many pictures of the deluxe things. Whatever. Skip the deluxe things. Not all of them are available, but maybe you can 3D print them or things. But there are several worker placement spots that you go to kind of prepare for the raid, and then you get a ship, and then you go and fight the monsters, or you go and fight the trolls at the upper part of the board, so you can get no shame, because if you don't fight, you get shame. And yeah, it's shame on you. Yeah, it's a straightforward worker placement game with this kind of a dice manipulation, like getting those dice and going to not dice manipulation, but using dice to fight the monsters, and you can get unlucky. But with the expansions, even if you die, if your dice die, if your warriors die, they go to Valhalla. They go there as tokens, and you can use those tokens in order to upgrade yourself and become better and better and better. So it kind of has this extra punch with the expansions. So I will not really recommend it without the Valhalla expansion. The second one with the archers, more cool dice. I like that, but I mean the second one is not as necessary as the first one. So yeah, this is the one that kind of gives me similar vibes that Raiders of the North Sea.
Those viticulture coins.
Yeah, probably. They mix and match those things. But anyway, I haven't played Raiders of North Sea, but like at one time there was like a Kickstarter for both of those. It was like either I choose one or the other. So I chose the big box of that, the Champion Big card, instead of the Raiders of North Sea. So
It's interesting that you compare them. I mean, the games have nothing to do with each other, but in my mind, I also get them confused. So,
I don't know. I haven't played the other one, so I'm comparing based on whatever I have seen.
yeah.
You know, not played exactly, but yeah, really cool worker placement game with cool spots and things you can do, and rather thematic for a worker placement game. So, Champions League card, my number 8.
All right.
So, let's go to number 7. So, Kyle, what's your number 7?
Well, it's Sunday, and what do you do on Sunday? You go to church. So that's why my number 7. Great, great thematic tie there. My number 7 is a game about building a cathedral. It's an older game. The game is Pillars of the Earth. It's a really interesting type of worker placement. The way that it works is you've got this, depending on you've got this bag, and all the workers are in the bag, and you'll draw a worker out, and you can either put it on this track, which lowers, you can either pay the cost to place it right now, or you can put it on this track, which you'll see at the bottom of that picture there. And when you place it on that track, it moves the price down to place the next worker. And so if you place it on the track, you're going to get to do it later for free, or you can pay the money, which is extremely tight, to place it out now to make sure you get what you want. It's a really interesting way to do it. And that's, I'm sure, has been done in other games since then, but it's never been done quite as well. And the game itself is relatively straightforward. You're getting resources to try and turn them into ways to get points, which are all kind of connected to building that cathedral there, which is a useless component that really is just a clock for the game. But hey, why not? But it's a great game that really holds up well. I played it on the cruise last year, and it was like getting back to an old friend. I don't know if that works, but it's just a fun game that has a nice theme to it, that doesn't get in the way. But if you've read the books and know the characters, well, that's a nice bonus too. So there you are.
Okay. Yeah, totally fine. I've never played that one, but certainly the one that maybe I should go back to and then try it out if I get the chance.
Yeah,
So-
don't pay a lot of money for it, but because
Oh,
it's
well.
kind of hard. It's been out of print for a long time. I heard there was a
I
new
see.
version coming out, but I don't know if it did. But it's definitely one to try if you find yourself near a copy.
Okay. So, all right. So my number 7, and you said if I find myself near, maybe I can also find myself far from that copy.
Oh,
That's that's a worse segue to my
that's
next
even worse
pick.
than mine.
Yeah. But I tried. That's near and far. Yes, that's indeed near and far, which is a worker placement game, but also a story game, an exploration game, and I really do enjoy near and far. Also lower on my list because first of all, there's a cat in a box. That doesn't help.
That's
But
okay.
no, let's just.
It's the wrong game to put a cat in the box.
Yeah. Like I said about the Star Wars. It's like a cat in a box. It's everywhere. Okay. Anyway, but near and far it has the worker placement aspect, and it's one of the two kind of segments of the game. The other one is just going exploring and reading the stories and things. And so, like when you're done exploring, you're out of like energy and stuff. So you go back and replenish yourself through the worker placement. So it's not a huge part of the game. It's not the essential, but it's still there. It's a big part, and I like. But those worker spots are rather easy. Go here, get a kiwi
something.
bird. Yeah, get something. But the Amber Mines expansion spices up the game as well. it creates a new, like basically it's the same worker spot where you go, and at first the worker spot was like you go here and you place a tent and you get the bonus under the tent. That's it. Now this worker spot is the one where you go there, you start exploring in the amber mines, and then you can kind of push your luck and go further and further and further, so into the mines, and then explore those caves, mines. It's a really cool combination of mid-weight hero, worker placement, and storytelling, and it just plays so well. I don't know what to say about that one. It's cool, it's nice, the theme, the art, just love it. And I really like the cards, where you get more cards, you kind of upgrade yourself. I like this kind of a tableau building aspect to it. So,
all right.
And getting new workers as well.
Oh,
right.
Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Adventurers.
Because you only get one worker to place in that game.
Sorry, yeah, you get new adventurers to help you out.
Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm.
I constantly say that they're workers. I don't know why, but I always say workers.
Sure.
I don't know. It's just there. That's number 4. My number 7. So let's go to number 6.
So near and far are both prepositions. There's another preposition which is under, and that is my number 6, which is underwater cities. And hey, it was very good. I won't have one for my next one, I don't think. So underwater cities is an interesting way to do worker placement. You have 3 workers, and you're going to place them, right? There are spots around the board. The spots never change, but what does change is the cards in your hand, and so you're going to place a worker, and if you play a card that corresponds with the spot you want to place it on, the same color, you get sort of an enhanced version of the action because you can also use the card's effect. It's an interesting way to do it. The worker placement is sort of just the steps you're going through to get what you want to do, which is to play the cards, build your city, but it's definitely there, and it's a great game that I really enjoy. So there we go. Underwater Cities, my number 6.
All right. So my number 6 is a game that if you go underwater, if you go too deep into the water, if you go too deep there, it's less and less light, so it's getting rather black. And if you won't survive, then you will see angels. What I I don't know. I tried my best. I thought it was so bad.
I wouldn't call that your best. Okay, go ahead.
It's Black Angel. My number 6. What did I say? Okay. Anyway, let's keep all that I said before. Let's not try to do that anymore. Okay, so Black Angel is a worker placement game, basically like a dice placement game, with many other things going on. And on the other hand, the worker placement here is not only through the dice, but I feel like your robots that you use in order to go to the space and then put out on those cards. It kind of feels like worker placement as well, a little bit. So there are 2 worker placement aspects here, in my opinion. But this is a really cool game. It's rather dry. And it has quite a few rules, but it's logical. So you have your grid of those tiles, and these are the technology tiles. You get more of them, and you slide them in, and you get some bonuses from them, and then you use the cards, and then you use your dice, which are in your compartment, and you can use the other player's dice by paying. You use those dice, and they are from 1 to 3 pips. So basically, it can be a stronger worker, or like the stronger worker, the more action points you get to use, you know? And you can maybe buy better technology tiles, or you can wipe out more of the bad things on the board, repair the ship more, or you can go farther into the space and put out the missions and things. So it all works through the dice placement. So the central board is very important in my opinion. And as a worker placement game with all those extra things going on, I think it's one of my biggest surprises that I was like, I don't think I should like that. It reminds me a little bit of Castles Burgundy. I don't know why. They're not similar games. But this one just works for me, as dry as it is. So I like Black Angel.
I do too.
Okay, let's go to number 5.
So, in Black Angel, of course, the people are sailing to a new world, I guess because Earth was destroyed or something. And, when the Earth was destroyed was in 2012, at the end of the Mayan calendar, right? I remember that. And that's my number. My number 5 is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. So, this game is most memorable for the rather large and very striking gears that are on the board, and they're more a gimmick than anything else, but they do help you sort of keep track of how the different tracks advance. But what you're really doing is worker placement, and much like some of the other worker placement games, you're either going to place workers out or you're going to take them back. And when you take them back, you'll activate them, but by placing them on the tracks, they're going to get better over time. And so every round, each track is going to advance one space, and the farther along you are on the track, usually the better the action you're going to get. So that's kind of what you're balancing here. It works really well as a worker placement game. The game holds up. My friend painted mine, so it looks really nice. I really enjoy this game, and it's it's not super thematic, although the expansion really does help. It adds some special abilities and things that you can do. But even without the expansion, I quite enjoy it. And as a worker placement game, it definitely fits on this list.
Okay.
Also,
yeah.
I remember one of your friends in Estonia. I remember at one of the game camps, they had a timer and they were trying to get a game in under half an hour so they could claim it was a filler game. Which
I remember exactly.
Which was such a wonderful idea.
Why not?
Like 22 seconds a turn.
Like a speed chess. The speed chess, you get speed Tzolk'in, yeah.
Speed Tzolk'in. So, I would love to play Speed Tzolk'in. I think it would be fantastic.
That's the one that in recent years I was thinking about that game because I don't know why, but maybe through time, certain games, my taste changes, of course, and certain games start to appeal to me. Or I just want to try it because of that mechanism of workers, and I want to see if I like it. So someday I'll get to that game.
I think this one has ripened with age. I think coming back to it years later, I enjoyed it more, which is a rare experience sometimes, than I did the first time I played it.
I see. All right, so my number 5, and getting back to my previous choice, before humans destroyed the Earth and could could go into the space and ride the spaceship, they had to ride other things on planet Earth itself, and one of those other things really expanded the industry and expanded the way we move around different countries and things, and these are rails. They built rails, and they built the machineries. Okay. Trains. They built trains, and especially it was really important in Russia. I don't know why. But I have to kind of create a segment to that. Okay, anyway, Russian railroads. No, it was important everywhere.
I guess this is a worker placement game, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's totally a worker placement game. With a terrible segue that I did, it's still a worker placement game. And this one, though, one of the central mechanisms here is you're building up the track, which is kind of an abstract thing. So you go along the way with your like a track resource, and you can build better tracks, and then you get more and more bonuses, and you can get more and more points at the end of the game. You open up few other things that now you can use, and blah blah, etc. But it all is through the worker spots. You get the engineers, which give you special abilities. You get better trains, engines. Sorry.
It looks like someone is playing American Railways there.
Oh, this is American one. Okay, yeah.
Well, it's the same game. It's just the expansion. I can see.
Yeah, the expansion is the German railroads and the American railroads, so you can use the different maps. But basically, the thing is the same. You use your workers, and sometimes you have to use more than one worker, which makes you have less workers than others during one of the rounds, because some spots really need like 3 workers instead of just 1, and so on. I like that, and it's a cool decision to make. And the overall game experience is just cool, building yourself up, getting more and more stuff, becoming bigger, bigger, bigger. It's not a point salad game, but it gives you a huge amount of points if you play well. It's the game where you score hundreds of points. So for a worker placement game where you score hundreds of points, I think that's the one to go with.
You definitely do score hundreds of points. Or not very many.
Yeah. All right, let's go to number 4.
All right. So, after building Russian railroads, people decided to stop in and try Russian cuisine. And they noticed something about the Russian cuisine, and that's that there's a little bit of spice in it, but everybody wants a little bit more. In fact, so much spice that we had to go to Dune, which is the planet where the spice comes from, Arrakis, I mean, and that is the next game we're talking about here is Dune Imperium.
So you want to say that they're all Russians there?
No, although it is clearly a post-Earth world. But they were looking for spice, and Russian cuisine isn't very spicy. So that's why they had to go to Arrakis. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can stop this anytime. So anyway, this is a very interesting worker placement game. This is a game that, unlike many games where I generally prefer fewer players, this is one that with more people is actually even better. So in this game, though, it's really interesting because you're doing deck building and worker placement, more so even than in Ruins of Arnak. In this game, you're picking the cards because they will allow you to go to spaces. You need to play a card that allows you to go to a particular space. You can also, cards also do other things, but really at the core of this game, it's trying to get your people to where you want them to be so that you can gain the resources that you need to do the things that you want. If you want to be involved in a particular combat, you need to have certain resources to be able to go into it. You need to balance all these different choices, and it's a great way to do worker placement that feels unlike really anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one I have not tried yet, and that's the one they compare Lost Ruins of Arnak to. And
well, they're only compared because they're both doing worker placement and deck building, and they came out in the same year. But the two games really don't feel like each other at all.
Yeah,
at all.
Because it's from Direwolf, and they did Clank, and I'm eager to try this one, but I don't like how it looks. It looks bad.
Yeah. So again, there is some help is on the way for that. Also, in the meantime, if you happen to have an old copy of City of Remnants, you can take the soldiers out of that and put them into this to use in place of cubes. May have done that myself.
Okay.
I do like City of Remnants still, though, so they went straight back after I was done.
Okay. So my number 4 is a game where, look, if you spend too much time in a desert and you eat too many spices, you eat too much spicy foods, you really want to have a drink, and you get really thirsty. And one of the places where you can get a ton of water, you can swim in it as well. And you can drink, you can swim, you can do whatever. You can even have Olympic Games there. And that's in the reef. And the game is called...
drinking water in the reef.
There is. The game is called Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef. So we're getting from really dry to extremely wet. That sounded bad.
Be careful about saying that.
I'm sorry. I tried to do my best, but it doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Anyway, but this game is one of the newer games, and I have the deluxeified version with the game trays. But in this game, it's a rather easygoing workers placement where you only have one worker, but when you go to certain spots, you put the disc down that you have been there, so nobody else can go there. And you move your worker around, and you basically are doing those different challenges, because these are like Olympics, so you can become the new hero of the reef and defend the reef from the monsters that arise from like that board over here. But you can go and also fight those monsters if you want. And this one looks a little bit different from this board is not the same. It's different in the final version of the game. But basically it's all the same. You can see the great artwork, and the worker spots are rather easy. It's not so hard to explain them. And the challenge is you get the dice. And the dice that you get the white dice at first, but you can upgrade them to red or blue, and you can extend from that, and you get better dice in order to fight the monsters or do the challenges better. And those challenges are those different cards, which are like traits. And when you finish those cards, they give you opportunity to increase your dials on your player board. And those dials are different, like skills or traits or things. So you can have extra special ability. You can refresh more dice. You can have a better what they call them. I remember the stunt cards. There are stunt cards. You can do better levels of stunt cards, etc. You can just become better and better and better as you go. Yep. So I like the simplicity of it. It reminds me of Abyss a little bit, maybe because of the theme and simplicity of it, but it's a totally different game. But still, the flow of the game is so smooth, and if you play it through once, and there are quite a few rules, but it's not hard. It's not hard. Yeah. The worker placement is extremely easy. Do that, and then go.
It is, however, a disappointing two-player experience, I found.
Look, I've never played it.
Solo and two-player were a little bit of a letdown. It's really one that's a 3 or 4 player game, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, at first we were almost to play it as a two-player game, but we were in one of the new shops in Tallinn opened, a brain game shop, a new one opened in one of the locations, and we're like, let's go there and see what's going on there, and bring a game with us and just play it, and see what happens. And then I realized the two-player has a variant rules and things. Yeah. So I was like, okay, as soon as we have a two-player variant, then it's 50-50. But thankfully, there were some folks just also exploring the shop for the first time. They were like, oh, this new shop, let's see what's going on there. And they're like looking at things, and then They also
You said victims, victims.
yeah, no, we were setuping the game. We didn't knew the folks. We were setuping the game, and they were like, "Ooh, what's that game?" You know, but it looks so cool on the table. And I'm like, "It's Idle Blades. Maybe you want to play?" And they're like, "Do we have time?" "Yes, let's play." And it was so random. And we're like, "Now we have 4 people playing, and with 4 people, it works."
It's a better experience, yes.
All right, my number 4 Tidal Blades. Let's go
Okay.
to number 3.
So
All right,
after
Colin.
drinking all the water at the reef, apparently, we realized that
Indeed.
unfortunately it was really dirty because the oceans and the reef had been polluted. And so that's why we have to work on the way that we're using energy in our next game, Manhattan Project Energy Empire. So, Energy Empire, again, it's by the same designer as, at least one of the designers, as Dwellings of Eldervale. But, but it's I don't know, this is a great worker placement game. What you're doing is, it's Manhattan Project is also good, but I like this one more. You're placing out your workers, and you can place out on if somebody else is on a spot, you have to make a higher stack, and so you can either use energy or you can use additional workers to try and get higher than the person that's out there. But you can never put energy out by itself, so it's sort of a limited. It's a boost resource only. But in addition to that, after you take your main action, you also have all these sub actions these cards that you buy that you can do other worker placement on. So just like dwellings, you're putting out your workers or you're taking everything back, but you also have the opportunity to sort of make those placement turns better as the game goes by placing all of your playing all these cards and creating worker spots for just you. Also, there's some dice. You know, when you're doing your energy roll, you're going to roll a certain number of different types of dice that you've acquired, and those can cause pollution in the water or the air, or you can irradiate everything if you'd like. But so there's some managing of that, but you also want to get as much energy as possible because, of course, it allows you to do more things. It's a really interesting take on worker placement. It's a fantastic game. There was an expansion on Kickstarter that has all kinds of problems with the process because, I don't know, I won't get into that here. But it's a fantastic way to do worker placement, and my favorite entry in that particular series of the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, that's the one that was on my short list as well. First of all, I think the company is bankrupt.
Well, the owner died, and then there's been all kinds of interesting things about that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the game itself is still pretty good.
Yeah, that's the one that it wasn't my short list, but I played it a long time ago, and I just didn't remember much about the game, so I wasn't sure where to put that game, And I remember really liking it. I really remember really liking it, but why? I don't remember at all. So that's why it's not on my list, but it's the one that I wanna get into my collection. It's the one that was on my wish list for many years, and I had the copy briefly, but it was a shared copy, so basically, it went to another person, and yeah, I don't have my copy, but I need to get it back somehow. That's my Manhattan Project.
There you are.
Okay, my number 3. The thing is that as much as they tried to clean the earth from the pollution, everything went downhill because the money just destroys people and destroys worlds. That's where eventually the earth was an unstable home for people. That's a ticking clock, basically a bomb. And so the people started to create those different corporations and different beliefs. And so here we are in the anachrony.
Okay.
yeah, it's yeah, okay, maybe,
I don't know if you really did. Okay.
but it's still there. It's the post-apocalyptic world where basically the Earth is destroyed and it's gonna blow up, and we are creating those, like the Atlantises. These are like we are creating our own Atlantises, and we're trying to escape the Earth, and we can also time travel in this game, in this world. So this is a worker placement game, and a really strong worker placement aspect to it, because you have those miniatures, but the usual game doesn't have those miniatures. But I don't know, they are. You can say they are unnecessary, but they are necessary. It's so much better with them. You can see the workers. You can, instead of those rectangular discs, whatever they are, that you put down and you put the worker on top of them. It's not.
They're not
it's not
rectangular. They're hexagonal. But okay.
Or hexagonal. I don't remember. Anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Anyway, just the miniatures are really cool. But you have your own worker spots on your board, like the Manhattan Project, the initial one, as you remember, and you have the central boards, and you build up those buildings which have those worker spots, and you can use them there, or you can use the robots, and you can place down the workers onto the central board, so you can get even more workers or more resources or water or whatever else, or like scientific breakthroughs, so you can use them in order to build super projects. And you can also travel in time, and you can borrow resources from the past, but then you from the present,
From the
basically you
future.
borrow resources. Oh, what?
You borrow them from the future and use them in the present.
Something like that. It's common, but basically you get the resources, but starting from the next round, you have to think about how to pay off that thing. So you get minus points if you don't, and you can get some really bad errors. Well, I don't remember the time rift things that
Anomalies, I believe they're called.
anomalies. Yeah, that clog your own board, so you cannot put the buildings there. So, and they give you minus points, etc. So it's bad. So. But it's a cool aspect, and you can travel back into the past to build super projects that nobody has built before, and so on. And it's a lot of things going on, but it's not so hard once you start playing. I think it's a rather streamlined, heavy Euro, in my opinion. And yeah, I do really enjoy every aspect of the game. And I really like the worker placement here. You can get as many workers as you want. And you can use as many as you want. It's not like you're limited with workers. Get a ton of them.
You might not have enough spots, though. You have to build those spots for them.
Yes, and that's where you have to balance it out. But I mean, like, it's really cool that everybody will have a different number of workers, and you can also have a different number of workers to go into the central boards, because you have to pay for the extra robots. You have to pay for them. And then you don't want to pay for them, and then whatever, then you have less workers to go into the central board, and so on. So great, a rather thematic but a heavy Euro worker placement game, Anachrony.
With quite a few expansions now.
Yes, and I'm like, base game is enough. I mean, like, already.
Well, and there are expansions that don't really work together. You kind of like pick one expansion, or pick another, or pick another.
Yeah, spice up the game in various ways, yeah. All right, let's go to number 2.
So, after the world is destroyed and the dust settles, the animals are going to come out and live because the people aren't there to conflict with them anymore. And also, so I'm speaking about a game in which, that also has several expansions that don't work well together about animals, and that is Everdell, as may have been circled there on the board, on the screen.
Or
Everdell
Elder Whale.
Yeah. I those two terms, those words are not the same at all, but they're so close. In my mind, I have to pause and think about which one I'm talking about. So, Everdale, excuse me, Everdell. There we are.
Everdell.
I don't know why that's so hard for me. Everdell is a game where you've got worker placement and you're also playing cards and building your own little tableau of 15 cards, I believe. The worker placement, you're going to get workers as the game goes by. The workers can get you resources, or they can take there's some scoring opportunities that cost a worker as well. You can add expansions that give you these sort of super workers, these large animals that can do special things, which are interesting. You can there's a different expansion with different resources. There's a lot of different things to do. There's an obnoxious tree in the center of the board that blocks somebody's view. That's maybe not one of the best features, but it is definitely one of the most memorable. But it's a great way to do worker placement. Worker placement is not the heart and soul of the game, but it's definitely a big part of the game, because there are times when you just need a worker and you just end up not having one. And similar to some of those other games, this is a game where you will put out all your workers and then spend a turn essentially to get them back. But you can only do that a couple times throughout the course of the game. It's not like, for example, the Manhattan Project series or Dwellings of whatever it is that starts with E, and where you can do it as many times as you like. Here you're going to be limited to just a couple of times. But it really works well. It's a great game. It's very charming in terms of its artwork. And it's not too hard to learn or teach, at least the base game. And just the base game by itself still adds a lot of variety and possibilities, and I'm not bored of that, even though I do enjoy the expansions as well.
Yeah, that's a nice game. It's not on my list, and the thing is that I don't feel like I'm really impressed with the mechanic of getting more workers here. And it doesn't bother me in a few other games, but in this one, it bothered me a bit, because I really like the last season. Basically was great, but the first season is so slow. I mean, I really wanted to have good game from the start, and it gets great till the end, towards the end. But I mean, no, I need to have a balanced experience. Like Anachrony has basically the same. You get more and more workers, but you still have kind of enough in the beginning to do, which is better in my opinion.
In Anachrony, you get less at the end to do, right?
Yeah, it narrows down. It narrows down in worker spots, but you get a ton of workers, and you can build up your own board. So you still have a lot to do within narrowing down because of the things. So, yeah. It's a good game though. It's great production. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. The tree is unnecessary. Okay.
What?
Anyway, let's go to my number 2. And my number 2 is a game that you already talked about. And the thing is that in Anachrony, people went into the space, and the Earth was basically destroyed, but it happens that the ocean was still out there, and the ocean survived, and people were living in that ocean. So somebody went up into the stratosphere, into the cosmos, and somebody went down into the depths of the ocean and started to colonize. And that's Underwater Cities.
Ah.
So, and Underwater Cities is, as you told as well, it's a really cool worker placement game. I'm not going to talk much about that. I do really like the mechanism of card plus the worker spot. And why it's so high on my list is because the worker placement here is extremely tight in my opinion, especially if you're playing with more players. Like, there are some spots that you really need to get, and you need to get that spot in this turn and the other spot in the next turn, and somebody blocks you out, then it's bad. You need to come up with a side strategy basically. But this one has a really cool choices about where you go with the worker placement, and the card play, I love it, and building up your board with the cities and things, and expanding that and then connecting those so they can work for you. I just really like this whole experience. I do have an expansion. I still have not tried the expansion, but I'm sure I'm gonna like the expansion.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes the boards nicer, at least.
Is it? So let's go to number 1.
So in underwater cities, you're building sort of these domes under the sea, and you're also building these tunnels, which are going to be run through by various vehicles, including probably some sort of undersea train. And trains, of course, are something that were built using technologies of the railroad, and was very popular in at least 3 places, including America, Germany, but in particular Russia. And so
I told you this.
My number 1, this was a fairly easy choice, was Russian railroads for me. I'm very excited for the new version that's coming out, that's going to be a big box version, and is going to have even more. I think there's a new expansion that hasn't been released yet that's going to be in there. So this will be very exciting. It's a great worker placement game. It's a game where one thing I really like is you pick something and say, this game, I'm going to do this. And I'm just going to do this all game, and I'm going to go all in on it and see how it works out. And sometimes it works out really well, and sometimes it does not, based on the choices you make and the choices other people make. But it's a great, interesting game. Points almost feel like they're meaningless because there are so many of them. It's a game where if you have a score under 300, you kind of say, "Whoops, that was a bad game," because you're just getting so much. It just kind of piles on. But it's definitely tight worker placement. Turn order is very important. Getting more workers, which you can do, right? You have the ability to say, I want to do this thing to get a new worker, but maybe that's not the thing you want to do that game, and so then you're just not going to have that extra worker, and so you got to find other ways to make do. It's a fantastic way to do the worker placement, and it's a game that I'm really always just very excited to play. My number 1 worker placement game, Russian Railroads.
Yeah, that was one of the one of the biggest surprises in my gaming history.
Yeah, I'm surprised you liked it at all, actually.
Probably this kind of a building up and kind of a building your engine and progressing, and the central mechanism being a worker placement. I feel that's what made it really likable for me. But at first I played First Class, which I was like, will I enjoy it? But I played First Class, and then somebody told me that there's Russian Railroads, which kind of they were compared to some degree.
Yeah.
On the forums as well. That's what made me try Russian Railroads, and I really enjoyed Russian Railroads. So.
Is it the same designer?
No.
Oh, so there's really no connection other than the
publisher.
Okay. Hold on.
I don't think that Helmut made. Oh wait, maybe it's the same designer. It is. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the same designer. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say there is some connection between them. Yeah, it is the same designer. I thought it was.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. Anyway,
I mean, the thematic connection is, of course, the trains, but also the fact that in First Class, also you're going to pick something and say, this is what I want to focus on, and see how far you can take it.
And you can also get a ton of points. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway, my number 1 is a game that I'm sure you're gonna guess what it is, because the thing is that. The Earth is destroyed, and everything is really in a bad shape. So what we can do, we can learn from mistakes, but we should go back in history and see what has happened before, so we can start learning already now, before our own Earth is destroyed because of those mistakes that were made in the past. No, that's a bad one. There's no segue to my number 1, but I'm sure you know what it is. It's Empires: Age of Discovery.
What? No! I'm shocked!
So, this is the Age of Empires 3 was the initial game, and this one is the deluxified version, basically. It has better components. It has shapes, the circular and rectangular shapes under the different workers, so you can distinguish them better. And they made some good production choices, and maybe not so good. But I mean, overall a good production. I like that. So, and this is a worker placement / area control game. But what creates the most tension is not the area control, though it's there and it scores you a lot of points. The tension is created through the worker placement, because you place your workers till the end, till you have placed all of your workers, and you can have less workers or more workers than your opponents. So you can have a various amount of workers, and these are workers with different special abilities, so each worker is different. Except the settler is just a settler, then you have a merchant which can bring you more money, you have a captain that can go exploring, you have a soldier that can defend or attack other players in the area control part, and so on. So in this one you place out your workers, and then you start initiating those different segments of the board. So you place out all the workers, you plan it out, and then you kind of start the movie, and then it rolls down, and then you do those different decisions, and it's really cool. It's just, it's an amazing experience to have workers with various abilities, easy ones. The biggest flaw of the game for me, and you can just skip that, you can play without those. These are the nation boards. So the nation boards is like a variant that you can use. And some of those nation boards, they are kind of like special abilities, so each player can become more asymmetric. But some of those abilities are just too powerful, and they shouldn't be included in the game. They're broken. One of the powers that I don't remember, was it the Turkey or something like that, where like the missionaries can bring out soldiers or something like that. So the player could just, pile up the soldiers in every region and just kill people, and it was frustrating because there was no way to stopping them. Even if you block the places, you block yourself off some good spaces, and then you lose the game by not going where you want to be, and you're playing that hate mechanic of blocking other players just for the sake of, for him not to get too many soldiers out there. But yeah, that was few boards are just too powerful, and I just play without them. But there are enough things going on in the game, and you can just have few boards that are fine, and you build up the buildings, and you become even better. You can get even more workers and things, and you build up these spices, and these are like a set collection that give you money each time, but in the end of the game they will also give you a lot of points. Huge game, but not so hard to learn, and a great experience all the way.
All right. Yeah, I kind of knew that would be your number one when we started making the list. But it's a good game. It's one that I actually need to get out and try again because it's been a while.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for today's topic of the day and today's episode, which is rather long. But we had some great games to talk about, and you can always watch this Würfelcast, watch this episode in segments. I'm gonna put out the timestamps once it's finished processing. We have timestamps, and you can skip those if you want to listen to particular parts of the show. But thank you for watching, and we're gonna see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to Saturday.
All right.
As usual, so.
Very well.
Anyway, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.